Right, so today I want to talk about Venom #1 by Al Ewing, Brian Hitch, and Ram V. It's weird because I usually think of Ram V as being a DC writer, but he's doing Venom now, which is kind of perfect fit because, you know, horror writer doing a horror book, or a book that's, you know, surrounded in like horror themes, and it's certainly going in that. And Al Ewing has done a lot of horror stuff with his Hulk run, so he's putting a lot of that into Venom now, so makes sense. Brian Hitch is what kind of confuses me because he's not really a horror artist, at least what I've seen him on previously hasn't been horror books. I haven't seen him on horror books, or I haven't seen him do, like, he seems like more standard stereotypical action kind of artist, and putting him on like a horror book or putting him with a horror writer doesn't really make sense for me. But he does have like a really good sense of scale, and he is really good at those like splash pages. Splash page by Brian Hitch is like the best of comic book art, I think. And like his Hawkman had a lot of those splash pages, and they were all really good. His Ultimates, you know, you have the really famous like splash page of Hulk like ripping out of the back of the ambulance. That is like one of my favourite pieces of comic book art like out there. He has a few things like this. I'm interested to see, like, Venom is one of those characters that, you know, Brian Hitch could do really, really cool things drawing Venom. Obviously he's drawing a different type of Venom, but that's even better because he can put his own little spin on it. But the only thing with this, and the biggest problem with it, is what it's following and what it's got to basically sequelize. This is a direct continuation of how King in Black ended, and with how Donny Cates' Venom run ended. And with that, I feel like the journey to get here was almost more interesting than where we are. And I don't know if I'm attached to Dylan Brock enough to see him lead the book. I don't know if I care enough about, you know, Eddie Brock being the new King in Black. I don't know if I care enough about the cosmic side of the symbiote to see more of that in the book. I am interested to see what this kind of force that's basically just told Eddie, I'm coming for you. You don't know when, you don't know where, you don't know how, but I will find you. And it looks, from looking at some of the solicitations and from looking at what this book looks like it's going to be, it looks like Dylan and Eddie will be doing two completely different things. Dylan will be dealing with the aftermath of that Carnage event that just wrapped up with Flash, and like his reintroduction into the Marvel Universe. Looks like that's what Dylan is going to be dealing with. Interesting, because at the end of that, Carnage took like the extremist symbiote that Iron Man made. Why Tony took the extremist symbiote to Carnage, I don't know, or to fight Carnage, I don't know, but Carnage now has that. We also we're going to probably get more into play with Dylan Brock's Venom, and characters like Toxin, characters like Agent, Anti-Venom, characters like Scream, who's now been changed to Silence, That event was kind of hit and miss, but it's led into some interesting things that I'm excited to see where this book will take Dylan Brock and where those plot threads are going to go. I'm more interested in the street level stuff than the cosmic stuff, and it looks like we're going to get both, which I both like and don't like. But the one thing I do like is the design of Venom now. I like the chains around his arm, around his wrists. I like that it feels like he's got more teeth, which is cool. But yeah, I like, it's not really a redesign because they've just put some chains around his wrists, but it feels like this is a more like animalistic Venom. This is a more like unhinged, uncaged Venom, and it feels like, and it definitely makes more sense having it be a teenager in the costume or in the symbiote. It's kind of taken those like rebellious attributes of Dylan Brock and it's taken his like teenage angst and it's kind of manifested that into its like outward appearance. That's what I feel like the chains represent. It might just be Brian Hitch being like, I feel like Venom would look cool with chains on his wrists. He does. He's right. It does look cool. I can't wait for this to be turned into an action figure. But as for the actual story that we have, at the end of the book, Eddie does, he wants to find out what this threat that's coming is, so he tries to connect with a symbiote from the future. In doing so, he comes to this, like, what looks like a Garden of Eden, and there's this other symbiote god that looks more like a Jesus type archetype, or more like the typical, where Null was Satan, this looks like a Jesus archetype, this looks like a god archetype for the symbiotes themselves. Whether this character is as good as he looks, I don't know. We do get a 2-page backup, which kind of shows that there's some more sinister things going on in the background. That's what it looks like to me. I don't know. I don't know where this book is going. Al Ewing did some crazy things with Hulk. He's probably going to do some even crazier things because the ball that he's been thrown is the hardest thing to actually get in the hoop, if that makes sense. He's been given a very hard job to do, and I don't envy the man at all. I think if anyone can sequelize King in Black and sequelize what Donny Cates did with Venom and how he changed that character, I feel like Al Ewing is the guy to do it. Whether he's going to change the character even more, what he's going to do with Dylan Brock, because it does feel like Dylan Brock is more important. It does feel like he's the one we're going to be following, or he's going to die by the end of this run. One of the two things is going to happen, and we're going to go back to the usual status quo of either Venom being a bad guy, or to line up with whatever's going to go on in the movies, or with Venom being a street level character with whatever's going on in the movies. Because what's happening right now, is completely different to what's going on with the movies. And I love that. I don't want there to be synergy with Venom in the movies and Venom in the comics. Or if anything, Venom in the movies needs to change to reflect what's going on in the comics, not the comics changing to reflect what's going on in the movies. But I just feel like things have gotten so big for Venom as a character, they could keep going and just make him this make him this grand, like, ultra, like, complex character that doesn't really fit in the universe anymore, or they could go back to him being a street level character, or kind of mix the two and Eddie become like that cosmic entity that doesn't really have a character, and then Dylan be this street level character that is the reflection of a more movie like Venom. Possibly. I have no idea where this book is going. The book is... Donny Cates did incredible things with Venom as a character, did incredible things story-wise with the character. Yes, you may have those gripes with Donny Cates' writing style and how everything he writes is the same. I understand that, and especially with how his Hulk book sounds. That book sounds both great and terrible at the same time. The first arc is called Smashtronaut, but as much as I'm both anticipating and dreading reviewing that book, this looks like it's going to be interesting. It's also interesting that Al Ewing's writing this. He just came off Hulk, and Donny Cates is writing that, and he's just come off Venom. I feel like they must have done that on purpose. Must have done. But it's really cool, and I really can't wait to see what Al Ewing does with Venom as a character. I can't wait to see what he does with Dylan, what he does with Eddie, what he does with other symbiotes, what his vision for the Venom universe is going to be. What characters is he going to introduce? Obviously, he's already bringing in a new character, which hopefully will get named in the next issue. Will he have more villains for Dylan to fight? Will Dylan get his own villains? Will Scorpion show up? Scorpion became like kind of a big deal. He got his own like Iron Man symbiote suit, and was like, you took everything from me, Eddie Brock. Where is Scorpion going to be in this? It feels like Scorpion's becoming more of a Venom villain than a Spider-Man villain in recent years anyway. So is Scorpion going to show up? Probably not, because, street level, and Venom's going away from street level stuff. So I'm interested. This doesn't have me hooked in the same way that Donny Cates' Venom #1 is, but this is more abstract. This is different. Venom #1 from Donny Cates was still very street level. It was introducing different themes that were more cosmic, but it was still very grounded, very, familiar. Very familiar. If you knew who Venom was before going into reading that, if you knew Venom from the movies before going into that, you would still be very comfortable. If you knew Venom from the movies and this was the first Venom book you ever read, you would not be comfortable at all. You would be like, why is he in space? But, if you read the last run and you want to see where the story's going, this is still good. This is still Al Ewing doing what Al Ewing does. And you all know my opinion on Immortal Hulk. By the halfway point, I was done. By the halfway point, I was kind of like, yeah, this is too much for me. So will Venom be too much for me? Is Venom going to be one of those books that was one of my favourites? It was, in fact, my favourite thing coming out at Marvel at one point. But now, I'm interested. I want to know what Al Ewing's doing. I want to know if he's going to introduce too many concepts that are going to be really, really difficult to follow, and whether he's going to go balls to the wall with the horror aspect, because that's some of the stories that I dislike. But I feel like Venom as a character, he's a big monster. It makes sense for him to be I feel like this needs to be more sci-fi horror. If it does become horror, it should be more science fiction horror, where Immortal Hulk was very Stephen King, very, like, it felt like a Stephen King book. Like, reading that first issue of Immortal Hulk, that felt like reading a Stephen King book. I hope that this is more like a Tales from the Crypt, or not a Tales from the Crypt. Why would a Venom book in space be Tales from the Crypt? I hope that this is more of like Aliens. I get that's the only sci-fi horror movie I can think of. I hope that this is more like, I don't. Do I want to say like there's a word that I'm thinking of that I want this to be, and I can't think of the word right now, like Cthulhuist and stuff like that, or like, I'm trying to think of what that word is. Whatever Cthulhu is. Anyways, I was trying to make this video a bit more informative, a bit more like an actual study of the book itself. It's not really the kind of thing that I usually would do. Let me know if you enjoyed this kind of more like calm way of doing things, as opposed to the usual kind of very hyped kind of content that I usually do. Let me know how you felt about this style of video, this style of commentary, this style of review, because it's very different. I haven't been this like laid back, this calm, this introspective of a book before. I feel like this is kind of what I should do for the like standard comic book review. I should be more zen, be more calm, be more like less all over the place. Because at the end of the day, these books, I love them, but something like this, I didn't get as hyped as I wanted to be. I feel like that's just a personal thing with me and Al Ewing's writing. Al Ewing's writing for me is very hit or miss. I feel like at the start, and because it's already started in a crazy place, it feels like it's getting crazier quicker, if that makes sense. I want to do more videos on the comics themselves, because I feel like I've gotten away from that recently, but there's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. I want to talk about Kieran Gillen's Eternals. I want to talk about Donny Cates' Thor. Everything seems to be really good at the moment. I even want to talk about Dan Slott's Fantastic Four, because Dan Slott's Fantastic Four is the best Dan Slott book I have ever read. So I want to talk about all of these books. And actually, Dan Slott's Fantastic Four is one of the best Fantastic Four books that I've ever read. And no one's talking about it. No one is talking about Fantastic Four. So I want to come here and give my opinions on Fantastic Four. And, tell everyone, read Fantastic Four. I want to talk about the books that I'm enjoying. But no one really... The videos I do on comic books don't do as well as the videos I do on movies, and you can imagine what that means if you go and look at my Eternals review, and you will see how badly that video did, and this video is probably going to do worse. So yeah, I don't know, but hey, you see all this stuff behind me? That's video games, but this stuff, behind the Pop Funkos, yeah, I love comics. Sue me. You know, I made this channel to talk about comics, to talk about the things I love, and it kind of got away from that. So I want to go back and talk about that stuff. So yeah, I'm going to get these finished, actually. I'm going to get these finished. I'm going to do videos on each and every one of them. I can't remember which one I got to, but I will get back to them eventually. I will finish talking about the DC ones as well, and the Transformers ones. I had people talk to me about the Transformers stuff. More people want me to cover Transformers content. I will. Don't you guys worry. And Disney Plus shows. Hawkeye's starting soon. I will have content on that. I'm streaming every day on Twitch. We have Thankmas coming at the end of the month. We've got a lot of stuff. I'm going to be busy next month because I've got a whole shit ton of content that I have planned. So yeah, I will see you guys then. Peace.